Gero here from Umbra Games with a review of Aliens Fireteam Elite, available on PS4, PS5, Xboxes, and PC, released initially on August 24th, 2021. The game was published by Focus Home Interactive and developed by Cold Iron Studios. It was played on an Xbox Series X on Game Pass for the review. This Aliens game contains a new, unique story that takes place a couple of decades after the original movie trilogy, with a 12-mission campaign. It's a third-person, over-the-shoulder shooter and features up to 3-player online co-op. If you don't play co-op with other people, you'll have synthetics filling up the rest of your party, and the game warns you to keep this to easier difficulties if this is the case. The standard mode, where you should start with 3 actual people, can even be difficult at times. The game actually reminds me a bit in playstyle of games like World War Z, where the pressure is on you constantly, enemies can come from all directions, and you really have to stick together and watch each other's backs. The game has 5 different character classes called loadouts to choose from, and this is done by choosing your first kit, and then you're able to purchase other equipment later. So if you're so inclined, you can make progress in multiple classes with the same character. Each class has particular weapons they can wield effectively, and some unlockable passive skills to do so even more. Classes also have equipable skills. As you'll see in the video footage, I focused on the Doc class. I had a trauma center with a limited energy supply I could drop and heal my teammates with the left bumper, and combat stims, which temporarily buffs gun accuracy and stability on the right bumper. Class synergy seems to be pretty important, at least from our experience so far in completing the campaign on just the standard difficulty. Having someone with a replenishable turret, and of course the Doc class with its additional healing and revive speed, seemed like a good choice. Again, we only had 3 classes present, so others may be even more useful, but knowing how to play and use your class will make a difference. Your hub is the USS Endeavor, and there are people to talk to here to get world information and preface your next mission, as well as a shop where you can purchase weapons and attachments, as well as cosmetics and emotes. The game uses credits as currency, and they are rewards from completing missions as well as completing daily tasks. Once you're grouped up, the leader will select a mission from the menu that obviously have to be played in sequential order for the first time. Missions do have a recommended combat level, which is a score made from an accumulation of your open skills, modifiers on them, as well as your weapon selection. You carry a primary and secondary weapon that you can customize, as well as a third weapon, a small sidearm with infinite ammo, were you to exhaust your ammo supply entirely. You can find and deploy a variety of consumable items. These include things like basic turrets, as well as elementally charged ones, all the way to mines and trap elemental panels. These can be purchased from the shop on the Endeavor, but you can also find them in basic crates present on your main path. But meandering off the mark objective path can also lead you to finding a hidden cache, of which there seem to be 1 per stage. These often contain better consumables, and I think occasionally a cosmetic or emote as well. Stages all have a visible icon leading you to your next waypoint, through corridors and rooms of the various environments. While you will have full-on encounters in various rooms, if you hang around or explore a little bit, you'll often have some attempted interaction from resident xenomorphs. A lot of the game's objectives are fighting through large waves and encounters in rooms designed for it, as well as rooms with a switch or some kind of necessary activation, and then fighting waves while the button does its thing, or something you press just happen to disturb them and call them to you. A good amount of these rooms you can see the encounter coming, with the 3 health kits placed on the ground, as well as the ammo box to refill all of your guns. The last encounter in a stage sometimes requires you to evacuate, so just getting everyone to the endpoint will end the sequence. You can only hold 1 med kit at a time, and also can, and sometimes mistakenly, heal other players with that resource. If anyone loses all HP, they go to a crawling position and can move around, and have a limited time with which they can be revived. The Doc class has a perk that can nearly instantly revive, whereas most other characters take a few seconds to bring someone up. It can be worth it, like I said, going off the beaten path for the aforementioned hidden caches, but you'll also find pieces of intel and artifacts, where once discovered will trigger conversations back on the ship, adding a bit more to the game's lore. Xenomorphs come in a handful of variations, which of course is only right for the genre. The basic type will show up as white dots on your motion sensor. They'll pop out of vents, they'll crawl on ceilings, and they'll beeline toward you hoping to get in a slash. When all xenomorph types are killed, if you know anything about them, their blood is acid. They bleed through metal and anything else it touches, including your HP. The variety with xenomorphs comes with the special ones that include things like spitters that assault you from a distance, bursters which try to get close to you and explode, and some harder to kill, really aggressive targets like warriors and praetorians. We're constantly calling out when we notice one so we can pop all our buffs and work to concentrate on them at the same time. You'll find some facehuggers here too, the infant stage of the xenomorph. Most seem to come from eggs, which if you are quick enough in destroying the egg, would eliminate the baby inside. If you do get caught by a facehugger, any type of the other specials that can pin and beat you down, you'll have a series of button presses that can set you free. Conversely, if your teammates come to your aid, can also kill the thing that's on you, less the case on harder difficulties. You also fight some synthetics here and there, humanoid-looking androids with white blood gushing, and they come in a bit of variety too, with shields and heavy armor and various firearms. As you attempt and complete missions, you'll get experience that go toward your class rank. These open the modifiers and skill boosts that are applied spatially by how much you can fit in the grid. Some modifications have to be directly adjacent to the skill it's modifying, while others are standalone. As you continue to rank, more space opens on the usable skill board as well. Each gun can also be leveled up through usage up to 4 stars. Each star grants a bonus to the gun's performance. One thing I sorta kept looking for is full-on gun upgrades, but at least as far as we'd gotten, the base combat score of every gun was 40. Some may have higher damage, but sacrifice fire rate or ammo count. Something that shoots faster will sacrifice stability. I think we're kinda tuned to look for upgrades in that department, and those just aren't here, which I mean, there are enough other modifiers to tweak things, but when the game starts to feel overwhelming and you want more power, you're not gonna find it here. Of course, the game tracks data in a mission, showing things like who performed the most headshots, highest kill count, and who took the most damage, all just for bragging rights. There are 3 daily quests that seem to be slightly more aimed at an in-game mind, as they're completing certain missions or destroying a certain enemy type, and if you're just fighting through the campaign the first time, it doesn't really make sense to try and focus on those. They do offer some rewards like bonus credits. Graphically, I'm guessing there's some kind of style guide for the Aliens franchise, and this game imitates it so well. From the technology, to the ships, to the areas where xenomorphs change the environments to better suit their needs, or even sections of eggs with that fog level. Sound-wise too, gun sounds seem to be taken directly from their movie source as well. Musically too, the score of the game just fits so well with the tension and stays very true to the source material. We finished the campaign on standard in about 12 hours. We've embarked on the next difficulty up, and on our first attempt we beat the first stage and died at very nearly the last moment of the second, all of us recalling that final encounter to be much easier on the previous difficulty and may have lowered our guard just a bit. Just to give a description on what changes from standard to the next difficulty, it's not just a slider bar like most games are wont to do, but actually full mechanical changes. On the move to intense, enemies aren't highlighted when aiming through your sights with L2, friendly fire is turned on, which a lot of the corridors and choke points can make this fairly difficult to deal with. An extra button press is added to get out of enemy entanglements. Acid blood hurts more and spreads more. There's less time to revive someone that's been downed, and there's a max of 3 revives per person per stage. And max ammo count is reduced as well, so yeah. Overall, Aliens Fireteam Elite creates an authentic alien experience through its visuals and sounds, yet expands on some variety with new forms of xenomorphs. The game has a fun, unique story to add to the universe, features some tight co-op with a high focus on teamwork. Because the game is brutally difficult, it could turn some players away. There are lots of ways to squeeze some replayability out through playing additional classes, daily missions, and several difficulties, but the levels themselves can start to feel a bit samey from an objective standpoint, and there's a fairly high degree of character customization through skills and weapon choices. Rated as a third-person shooter, Aliens Fireteam Elite hits an 84 out of 100 on my true 0 to 100 scale, where 50 is an average game. This is Gero from Umbra Games. Thanks for watching.